Can you relate to this? You've finally gotten some traction in your coaching business. People are signing up like you're the best thing since sliced bread because let's face it, you are. They're so excited to be working with you. They hop on your coaching calls, they check in with you. You're now spending most of your time serving them because you know you can get them results, and then suddenly they stop showing up. They stop checking in, they stop coming onto your coaching calls, they stop doing the work. And so you're scrambling, trying to figure out what more you can do to keep them going, keep them interested, keep them progressing. Is it about awarding them points to progress through your course? Is it about adding more coaching call times because maybe they just can't make the original time anymore? And then the complaints start happening. People who aren't getting results are now they're now turning it back on you. Your strategy doesn't work. You're not giving them enough support. They don't have the time to do everything you want them to do. Does any of this sound familiar? Yeah? Let me be the first to tell you that you are not alone. Anyone who has been through any type of high ticket coaching has been through exactly this. And it took me so long to figure out what was going on until finally I did. And it is something so stupidly simple that I could not believe it took me this long. So the good news is that you don't have to go through the months and months and months of headache and heartache to figure it out, because this is exactly what we're going to be talking about on this episode. My name is Deirdre Shen. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Capture and the Podcast to Profit Accelerator. Let's get into it. Hi, this is the Grow My Podcast show. My name is Deirdre Shen, the CEO and co-founder of Capture and the Podcast to Profit Accelerator, creator of content Honey Traps, and author of Honey Trap Marketing. In this episode, we are going to be talking about why most podcast content strategies don't convert to high ticket sales, and why knowing this huge mistake and actually knowing what to do instead can drastically improve your chances of attracting leads who not only buy, but get results. Let me tell you a little bit about how this all came about. It was the middle of 2021 and I had it. Nothing was working and nobody was happy. My team were fielding emails and DMs of unhappy clients who were asking for refunds or program extensions. I started to dread coming to team meetings because it seemed like we had to deal with another tough client conversation. It was starting to play on my mindset. How could I, hand on heart, continue to sell something when it seemed like it wasn't working? The most frustrating thing is that we knew that their lack of traction wasn't our strategy or our support or our training. We had modeled our delivery of some of the best programs out there. We even had our coaches audit it and tell us what we were doing wrong. No one could figure it out. No one could find anything. So if it wasn't any of those things, what was it? Was it me? Was I the problem? I just couldn't do it anymore. And in that moment, I decided to burn it all down. It was only months later, when I was speaking to another mentor, Melissa Ricca, that I started to work out what had been happening, because she had gone through the exact same thing, right? And what she had found was when she started elevating her content, that was when she started to get the right people into her program. These were people who took radical responsibility of their own success, who dug in and they did the work, and who showed up for themselves time and time again. These are the people we call our level 10 clients. And it's remarkable that making this one change so early on in her front end funnel would have such drastic results in who you convert and who else gets results in your program. This is the thing, no one thinks about this. A lot of us create content based on what we see others doing already, right? I did the same thing. So again, I'm not judging or blaming anyone here, because everything that I talk about, I have myself personally experienced. The problem is that all this content that is being created is talking to your level 1 client. You know, when you look at the simple how-tos and tips on I don't know, getting your business started, or getting set up on YouTube, or getting started on social media, or how to create reels, or how to get on TikTok, or how to start your podcast, right? This is all level 1 content. There is so much content at this level that there is a massive gap for your level 10 client. No one is talking to these high ticket buyers who will actually get results. No one's talking to them, not even you. I wasn't. I certainly wasn't, which is why I was attracting the absolutely wrong people who expected quick results without putting the work in, people who expected that by some level of investment leaving their bank account that would entitle them to instant success. And so this is why most podcast content strategies don't convert to high ticket sales. And if they do, because ours did, I'm not going to lie, if they do, then these clients, they're not sticking around for long. That is when you get those hard client conversations. That is when you get people complaining. That is when you get people asking for refunds. So hang with me, because after this quick ad break, I am actually going to share with you what you should be doing instead to drastically improve your chances of attracting leads who not only buy, but actually get results. Okay, today we are talking about the podcast to profit accelerator. Okay, did you know, Deirdre, over 60%, and I think the statistic is pretty conservative, but over 60% of podcasts don't actually make it past 10 episodes. I did know that. Yes, I did, yes. But I'm going to pretend that I didn't so that we can have the dramatic effects. Yeah. Like, what? Bona, tell me more.
Very good. because when you know, and you've been down this path multiple times, but when you get on the path of starting and recording a podcast, you can see why this is. It's actually quite hard to get it past 10 episodes, yes. Right? Because a lot of effort that goes into coming up with topic ideas, the right content, and consistently having to record and promote every week. Right? We know that.
Well, and this is the thing, because it seems easy. Like, it's easy to set a podcast up.
It is easy to get going on the first
done it multiple times, but we have also closed down podcasts multiple times because it's like, well, it's easy to get set up. It is not easy to maintain.
Keep going. Exactly. Yeah. Especially because you want your content to be top quality.
Yes.
And also because you want to make sure that it actually gets seen. Yes. And very quickly within the 10 episodes, you realize, is anyone even seeing this? Yeah. Are my people seeing this? Right. So if you are a high ticket coach and consultant whose podcast is a way of getting leads, which you would be when you're listening, because you're listening to this podcast yourself, and you have made it past 10 episodes, and first of all, congratulations, because you are already in the minority. Now, like I said, the flip side of creating content every single week is a disappointment that comes from, when it doesn't, the effort you're putting in doesn't yield enough results, right? There's not enough listens and not enough leads. Maybe you would be getting listens and leads, but just not enough. Yeah, because you keep putting more effort in every week. And even when you do get the leads you want, that frustration that comes from not knowing, like, wait, what did I do well this time? And how can I double down? What am I doubling down on? Yeah. Right? Yeah. We hear you. We hear this all of the time. Now, what's missing, we find in this scenario for high ticket coaches and consultants who are podcasting consistently, is a very strategic and well thought out end-to-end traffic strategy. A lot of people don't think about that. Like you say, it's not, definitely content, which we're talking about, is part of it, but a lot of the time the traffic strategy is missing. That's going to actually generate traffic that's going to get you consistent high ticket leads and conversions every single month. So Deirdre, this is why you've created the Podcast to Profit Accelerator.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And specifically the podcast, which is going to give any new listeners, especially new to our world, a real insight and kind of end-to-end view of what this unconventional podcast traffic strategy really is, right? A lot of people aren't talking about this. It's going to give you the end-to-end details. There's 5 short, sharp audio lessons that you can listen to on the go and re-listen to when you're back at your desk and take notes. It's completely free. So we are only going to make it available for a week. So you have a whole week to get through the five lessons, but it's completely free because we want to make this available to everyone we know. So you can stop wasting your time and get some return on investment. Now, all you have to do to get access to the podcast is register for free, of course, at www.podcasttoprofitaccelerator.com, and lesson 1 will be unlocked for you. Like I said, once again, you've got to register at www.podcasttoprofitaccelerator.com.
Okay, so we know now that there's a big big downstream impact from the content that you're putting out there to who actually converts and who gets results in your program. Oh, and I should actually preface this by saying Bona is going to be joining me, my co-founder, on this part of the episode as we dive into the actual strategy of how to do this thing, right? So so there's this big downstream impact. And the reason is because your content is always going to be the first line of attraction.
I like that.
Right?
Yes.
We're not talking about defense anymore. We're talking about
first line, like, yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
This is your Bumble profile for anyone. Anyone like Botta who is on the dating apps.
Whenever Deirdre starts to get into the dating analogies, we're all like, this is. But I like it. Yes, this is your Bumble profile. In fact, this is the headline of your Bumble profile.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So the content that you are putting out there is what you are ultimately going to become known for, right? Which means that if you want to work with the right high ticket clients, this is actually what we need to work on first. We actually need to work on your content and how you're actually elevating it. So how do you come up with the content for your podcast and social media that attracts the right leads, the right buyers, the right clients, who we call your level 10 client? And I call it the content bridge. So just really quickly, I'll talk you through the strategy, and please jump in, Bona, with any examples as I go through this. So let's first imagine a bridge. So your ideal high ticket client, right, your dreamiest buyers, they are all on this bridge, and they're trying to get from where they are now, so point A or one end of the bridge, to the other end, point B, right? That's the other side. And on that other side, because once they reach point B, that's their promised land. That's the big result. That's the big thing that you are promising them, right?
Yes.
And you, as their coach, as their consultant, you're going to help them get there. That's the purpose of this bridge. And along this bridge, there's going to be different markers along there. And I call it 10 because, if you can imagine on this bridge, there are 10 markers. Your level 10 client is right at pretty much almost at the end, and your level 1 client is right at the beginning. So what I want us to consider is, what if we just had one ideal client and they just happen to be at different stages on this bridge at those different markers, right? So as I said, there's those 10 markers from level 1 to level 10. And all the people who are on that bridge, they are actually all your ideal clients, right?
That's a really important point.
And if they are at the first marker, they're your level 1. So they're at the beginner stage for you.
Yeah.
If they're at the level 10, they're your dream client, right? And then there's everything in between 2 to 9. Now, everyone who is on this bridge, they are all of them are aspiring to be at the level 10. So much closer to that point B, to that promised land, to that end result, right? No matter if they're currently at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wherever they are, they all want to be at level 10 and just that much closer to the promised land.
Yes.
And, it doesn't matter if they've just started a journey and they've just had this epiphany, or they've already been on this journey. What sets them apart is that everyone who is on this bridge is the same type of person. Okay, so this is really important, because this did my head in when I was trying to work this out the first time, right?
Yes.
Because we all default to demographics or like the easy things that we can anchor in. And that's actually not what we're talking about, because we're talking about almost like psychographically how do we determine this one ideal client? And it doesn't matter where they are in their journey along this bridge, but they all think and behave and have the same attitudes towards your thing or towards the thing that you talk about. That's what sets them apart as your ideal client.
Yes. I think that's a really good example of that. Oh, I hope this is good, but a very simple example of that, I think, is, for example, if your ideal client, like, let's talk about our example actually. So obviously, other than high ticket coaches and consultants, right, in that scope, now we're talking about psychographic elements.
Yes.
If rather than starting from demographics, it can be easy to be like, oh, they're all parents, for example, right? And then we go, no, psychographically, we are going for people who are achievers. And it's like, okay, that's the first thing. But then really, and that's where a lot of us start. We're like, high achieving coaches and consultants, high ticket coaches and consultants.
Yes.
There's a lot of those people.
Yes.
There's a lot of people in that industry just happen to have that quality, right? But it's really about psychographically, they want that, they are high, driven and high, sort of achievers by nature, but they are starting to really want to do it from a place of like, whether it just started or they're very close to it, where they're bringing ease back into their life, and they don't want to be grinding all the time, and they want freedom, and they want to just, have a more relaxing experience towards that. So I think that they're not afraid of hard work, but that's what they're aiming for, which is why our content and our messaging really resonates with them about, it's actually about being able to ultimately free yourself from that, right?
Yes.
But still get the result.
Yes.
So they want to work smarter and harder. So a lot of people who are really into the work, harder than everyone else, outwork everyone else, they're going to walk past this bridge. It's not going to be for them. And that's so okay.
Yeah.
Right. But then because even when they're first starting out, they're doing it with the intention eventually. And then it just so happens the reason why for a lot of them is because they have families and all of that. And demographically, they may have those similarities, but it's almost like starting from the psychographic rather than the demographic is the difference, I think, for us.
And actually, you raise a really good point, because even as you were talking about that, I was like, oh, this is like such a another light bulb moment for me, because when we talk about demographics, right, we go like, oh yeah, we're targeting someone with 3 kids, let's just say, for example, right? And so demographically, but when we talk about psychographic, it's like, what is their thoughts, feelings, attitude, approach to even that demographic thing, so to those having those 3 kids, because there will be people who have 3 kids and they kind of don't really care, right? They'll hire nannies or whatever to just, do the looking after so that they can focus on what is it they want to focus on.
Yes.
Whereas psychographically, we want them to be family focused. We want them to care about wanting to spend time with their kids, etc., because that's why they're trying to create this freedom.
Yes.
So does that that kind of, for me, really, I was like, oh wow, that makes sense, because demographically, again, these 2 people, they both have 3 kids.
Yes.
But it's really their approach, their thoughts, their thinking, their behavior, their attitude towards that particular situation. That is what sets them apart.
Yeah.
That determines whether they're on your bridge or they're off your bridge.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah. So thank you for raising that, because that actually got me thinking about that particular example.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's great. So now we're like, okay, we know that to be on our bridge, they have to psychographically fit into, this one, your ideal client, high ticket client. But then how does that help us actually create content?
Right? What does this mean?
So that's what we're going to talk about now, because really what you want to be doing is, if you think about that bridge, that's almost like also your framework, what you actually teach helps people go from point A to point B, right? Which means that as you go through your framework, there is level 1, level 2, level 3, all the way up to level 10 and then into promised land. Like your framework actually fits across that bridge.
Yes.
And so how I want you to think about creating a content is, because you want to speak to a level 10 client, so you're actually going to create content around your level 10 frameworks of your framework, your level 10 components of your big framework.
Yes.
Your ultimate framework. Does that make sense? and then you might be like, because trust me, I went through all these same struggles where I'm like, but that means that I'm not talking about all the other things.
Yeah, all these other things.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
And that's okay. That's okay. Okay. So this is how I think about it. So the thing is that, okay, there's kind of 2 approaches to this. So I'm going to try, if I remember, to cover both, because I always go down one path.
I'll make sure that you do.
Completely forget what my other point was. Okay. So the first point that I want to make is, I spoke about before that a lot of content out there is talking to the level 1 client. And when you talk to the level 1 client, you actually repel everyone level 2 to level 10.
Yes.
Right? Because they're like, well, I know this stuff already. You're not relevant for me. Whereas when you talk to the level 10 client, you're actually also talking to your level 1 to level 9, because again, psychographically, they're on that trajectory, right? They already empathize or feel the problems and the questions that the level 10 client has. It's just that they're a little bit further back in their journey, but that's okay, because they can already see that they're going to come up against these problems and these questions and they want to be thinking and talking to people at that higher level.
Yes.
Because they want to accelerate their journey from level 1 to level 10.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's one point that I wanted to make about why it's important to actually speak to level 10, because then at least you're actually speaking to everyone on the bridge rather than repelling the higher level people that actually you want to be attracting. They're really
so much closer to converting with
you. Exactly. And then the other point that I wanted to make is about your actual content. Okay, so I was like, how am I only going to speak to level 10 content in my framework? This is the thing about, and this is, when you start asking yourself almost the right questions, you start to solve them in the right way. I'm a big believer in that. You start to solve them in the right way. Is because now you can talk about things with a lot more specificity, which means that it cuts through to your ideal client a lot quicker and a lot simpler. And also a lot of it is about positioning and messaging, right? So you could actually, and I don't want to overcomplicate things unnecessarily on this podcast episode, but again, these are things that we ourselves are working through, but you could technically talk about something that is you would think is like a level 1 thing. So for example, we talk about niching. It's almost every episode I think we're speaking about niching.
Our listeners like, we get it, and we need to niche. Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's a very foundational, fundamental, almost level 1 content topic when you think about it, right?
Starting a business should think about this.
Exactly. But it's how you position it. So if you were to talk about, you need to niche because you've just started your business, level 1. But if you actually think about how to message that in the right way for your level 10 client, because trust me, like all the foundations are things that your level 10 client should be doing anyway. They should be refreshing this. They should be updating this. As they, level up, they're going to have to, define their newer, maybe slightly broader niche, right? But it's still, ultimately, they're still niching because they're still talking to a particular person, and you can help them with that. And so this is how you can literally use the same components of your framework that is down at the level, let's call it level 1 to level 5 area, but just message it so that you're actually talking about that particular component in a level 10 way. Wow, was that confusing?
I don't think so. Well, I was following, but I guess, I think the example would be really helpful to crystallize that, because I like what you were saying about, because we also don't want to be yet feeling like we're completely, ignoring,
discarding.
Exactly. And that also, it's a really good reminder, like I say, there's just so many foundational elements that live across the bridge. But I think, one example where we're thinking about, when you're first starting out a business as a guide, you might be very much like, trust me, I've been there multiple times, save yourself the heartache, start with a really tight niche. As you say, for some of our level 10 clients, even in some of our examples, our own example with our business, we kind of talked about, okay, you might have a situation where your level 10 clients actually have multiple businesses. So how can they make sure that, like, they might have niched down for one, but hey, your second business is, you need to be just as, so now you're talking to someone who's got a portfolio potentially. But the other position for that would be like, okay, you know what niching down is, you're not a stranger to it, but now you're cycling, like you have a different version, you've either made a really big, decision because you are at that stage to pivot, or, something else has happened where you're actually cycling to a new phase of your business, right? And that sort of terminology is very unique to that stage in people's business life. Again, like level 1 would look like going, oh wow, imagine that. What must be nice to have that problem when you've been, you've already had a 6 or 7 figure business and now you're cycling, right? It's still very resonant for them because the principles are the same. But like you say, you're kind of really talking to them about the importance of that, and they resonate because they're not like, oh, this isn't a basic 101 thing. This person understands what this very unique position I'm in. Oh, it just, of course, niching down. Like, how did I forget that? And we've been through this process ourselves where we had to go back with our coach, and he was like, okay, some fundamentals. We've told this story so many times, and it's still so emotionally powerful. But we were like, oh, we teach the stuff, we know the stuff, and we haven't done it because we're now at this phase. So I think that's right. It's just a rebrand of the same concept, but like you say, you're speaking very specifically to a level 10.
Yes, exactly. So that's the secret, you guys. Like, do you see how like stupidly simple this is? It's stupidly simple but hard to implement. I'm not gonna, because we are ourselves still grappling with this day in, day out. We are obviously getting better, hopefully, but it's one of those like simple but difficult to do. And it is a matter of practice and repetition.
Yes.
To actually nail this and get this. So the secret really is to be in front of everyone on your bridge, right? That is like everyone from level 1 to level 10. And to do that, in order to do that, to be able to speak to all of them, you have to speak to your level 10 client, right? That means their desires, their problems, their fears, their questions, because your level 1 or your level 5 client hearing all that can still see themselves in those same desires and problems and fears and questions, because they are the same person ultimately. Okay, I want you guys to understand that they are the same person. But if you only talk to your level 1 client, you will automatically exclude everyone else on that bridge. So please, no more basic content.
Say no to basic content.
Say no to basic content, okay? Because it's just not relevant to your people, to your high ticket audience, okay? This is the thing. If you want to attract, convert, and retain those your high ticket audience, your dreamiest clients, you need to start implementing the content bridge. There's kind of almost no two ways about it. Take it from someone who burnt their business down because they did not do this. Okay, they do not do this. All right, and I would do actually go into more detail and more examples of this in that podcast. So we're going to leave again the link to that podcast. It's free to register. Highly encourage that you do so, because this is actually one of the big things that I cover. Go to www.podcasttoprofitaccelerator.com. We will leave that in the show notes. If you love this episode, please do us a favor, leave us a review, leave us a rating, and share it with all of your friends. And we will see you on the next one.
Bye.